So Van Gogh cut off his own ear, and Sylvia Plath stuck her head in an oven. It's no secret that highly creative people can really struggle with their mental health. So let's talk about it. My name's Haley. I am an artist and filmmaker, and overall just a very creative person. And today I wanted to talk about my mental health journey and how it correlates with doing art. And while I am an artist, I am not a mental health professional or doctor or psychiatrist. So please don't take this as me giving you medical or mental health advice. I just kind of want to reflect on my own journey, and maybe that will help you in some way reflect on your own. But if you do need help, please seek help from a professional. There are some resources linked down below that you can go check out. Now that we've got that disclaimer out of the way, let's jump right into it and talk a little bit about my mental health journey and how it has correlated with creativity. So first I want to say my mental health depends on all kinds of different factors. It is not just art and creativity and art making, right? It is getting enough sunshine and touching grass and going outside enough. It is getting physical exercise and working out a couple times a week. It is eating a healthy, nutritious diet, taking vitamins and supplements. It is having healthy relationships with friends and family. It is doing all of those things, right? But I would say a huge factor for me when I reflect back on my life and like the different periods and the different chapters, the big ups and downs I can always correlate to times of creativity and stagnation. Starting at the age of 10, that's the first time I can really remember kind of struggling with mental health. You know, you're on the brink of puberty, you're becoming kind of a teenager from childhood, and I was grappling with really big questions like religion and God and the universe and, you know, these big philosophical questions. What's going to happen when I die? And that's a lot to handle for a 10-year-old. I think that uncertainty led to periods of actual depression as a kid. And my parents, wonderful enough, kind of recognized what was going on and put me into an art school at age 11. And that's where my art journey began. That's where I really started harnessing my creativity, and my mental health greatly improved. So that's when I started realizing the correlation. And then when I look at any other periods of my life where I wasn't doing something creative, not even necessarily art, like I didn't do hardly any art throughout college, but I was making film at film school, and so it was a different creative outlet. I'm always in a much better mental place than I am when I'm not creating. Every time that I'm not creating at all, I quickly dip into depression. So let's talk about art as a form of expression and healing. Studies show that engaging in doing art can actually reduce your cortisol levels, which is the hormone that is linked to stress. I think this is why a lot of people gravitate toward like coloring books and paint by numbers and that sort of activity when they're not necessarily prone to be like an artist, but they know that doing art and having that creative outlet is going to help them calm down and be in a calmer state of mind. I find often that emotions and everything that I'm feeling and wondering can be really hard to put into words. And so expressing it to people is not necessarily always an option. Sometimes I can feel sadness and feel down without even knowing what the causality of it is. And so it can be hard when people are like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I don't know really." But putting all of those feelings into art, I'm sure if you're an artist watching this, you probably are, you can understand like sometimes when you just get into that flow and you start creating art for hours and hours and hours and you just come out feeling relief, like whether you're a musician or a filmmaker or a actual, you know, traditional artist, something about it is a sort of language that goes beyond words, at least for me. I am a religious and spiritual person, and you know, God is the ultimate creator, and so I think that when we get into like a flow state, that's the closest frequency that we are aligned to God. I remember in school, I went to this very cool art school where we had 90 minutes of art class, and I would just put my headphones in and the whole world kind of disappeared. I would just work on my craft so diligently that time would go by so quickly, and suddenly the bell was going off and it was time for the next class. And this is something that I just chase. I look for this this flow state anywhere that I can find it. And to me, I mean, I've never been able to really master meditation. I've tried, but sitting and trying to like calm my mind, and I've done some guided meditations that have worked, but I have a really hard time meditating. The only time that I've really found what I think people meditate for is in the flow state of creativity. It reduces anxiety, it causes more mental clarity, and it can improve focus. So again, like science has actually proved that being in a creative flow state is better for your brain. It can really help reduce like mind clutter and anxiety and all the other things that I'm worried about. When I'm creating art and I'm just in it, I'm not worried about, paying bills. I'm not worried about what we're making for dinner. I'm not worried about all these other things that affect me years from now. I am just in it in that moment, and it's truly one of the only times that I feel extremely present. In those periods of depression, when I have felt the most down in my life, it is oftentimes when I am doing things that I don't truly care about. So, for instance, one period was an 8-month period between high school and, well, it was actually after I dropped out of my first college and I was transitioning into my second college. I had that whole semester and the summer to go through before I went to my next school. And in those 8 months, I was like the most low that I have been in a very long time. And I think the main reason why is because I was working at this little restaurant every day, all day, 8 hours a day. My coworkers were not very good influences. None of them had ambition. Being in this environment was just not great. Plus, I didn't care for the restaurant. Listen, I'm a very good and hard worker, and I've worked at restaurants where I've really enjoyed it. I've loved my coworkers, and it was a much better environment. This was just a negative environment, and I had absolutely no creative outlet. I didn't have a lot of friends. They had all gone off to college. So I was just working every day, just trying to save money before I went to my next college. And I wasn't making film, I wasn't making art, I just wasn't taking initiative to have any sort of creative outlet. And this was a big, big low for me. This was a really hard chapter in my life. And I think one of the reasons is because that feeling of not needing to get out of bed in the morning is one of the most daunting, horrible feelings that you can have. I'm a really proactive person. I always say busy is better than bored, and I love to be super busy than to not have anything on my plate. Obviously, I like periods of rest and I, take my weekends and whatever, but when I feel like there is no reason that I need to get out of bed today, that is really hard and heartbreaking for me. And so when I'm really excited to create art, when I'm working on a project that I'm really enthusiastic about and passionate about, I wake up early, I get my coffee, I start making art first thing in the morning, and it really drives me to get out of bed in the morning. It gives me a reason. Sometimes make up reasons. If I'm going through lulling periods like that where, work is not the thing that's driving me, I kind of have to create these side projects that are going to excite me to have a reason to get up in the morning. I think it's kind of a really positive snowball effect where when I'm working on one creative thing, when I finish it, that passion kind of drives into another creative thing. So for example, I'm working on my first children's book right now, and this is like a big experiment. I'm learning how to illustrate. I'm self-teaching myself illustration right now. I'm learning digital art, learning Procreate for the first time, and it's all been an experiment. Okay, I want to do this first children's book to honor my late mom, and we're going to see how it goes. But as I'm getting closer and closer to my deadline to finish the book, I'm getting so excited about all the possibilities of other children's books I can do. All the illustration styles I want to try, how my illustration style is going to develop and change in the future, what kinds of stories I can, create and illustrate and publish, and the world is my oyster. And so that's a really positive snowball where this one project, this one experimental project of, okay, I'm going to do one children's book is now leading into this. I could do so many, and what else is possible, and who could I meet, and what writers could I work with, and what styles can I pursue? And so then that gives me, years and years of potential art projects that will be reasons to get out of bed in the morning. I think when you're a creative person, being still is one of the most dangerous places you can be. And again, I'm not talking about rest days. It is totally okay to take time to rest, especially between big projects. I know that film can be like really overwhelming. We usually have 12 or 14-hour filming days, and so I need periods of rest between shooting days and between films. However, I have found for myself personally that being still is very dangerous for me and my mental health. To be doing and executing and pursuing creative projects is when I thrive the most, and when I don't even feel periods of down. I don't have time to feel periods of down because I'm so busy working on all of these different projects. So I guess my takeaway, and again, I'm not trying to give like medical advice, but if you're a creative and you're struggling, for me, have found that just filling my time with creative projects, no matter what it is, if you go take a pottery class, if you are learning Procreate like me, if you just decide you want to draw this thing, if you want to start your own comic book series, whatever it is, like by just pursuing creative projects, I find I am so much happier than when I'm in these periods of stagnation. Let me know down in the comments if you relate to this, if this hits close to home for you. Again, my name is Haley. Thank you so much for being here. If you like this video, give it a like and let me know in the comments if you want more videos like this. And also hit that big subscribe button. It would really help me out, and you can join me on my artistic adventure as I pursue illustration and all my other artsy endeavors. Thank you so much, and I hope you have just a beautiful day.